Welcome to the Valley Today, a public service presentation of the good folks at KAIL TV. If you're like me, then coffee is probably one of the constants in your life, with breakfast and as a pick-me-up in the middle of the afternoon. On a lark, I discovered a coffee roasting company halfway between Oakhurst and Mariposa on Highway 49. An unexpected treat on a beautiful drive. The Mariposa Coffee Company, up next on the Valley Today. Well, welcome to the Valley Today. We are here at the Mariposa Coffee Roasting Company.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And we're with Jerry Caputo.
Right.
And I met Jerry about a month ago. I was stomping around up here in the Mariposa foothills.
He was lost, actually.
I was lost, and I popped
saved his life.
And I go, you know what? This is a neat place. Right off 49 here.
Right.
You can't miss it. I mean, if it were a snake, it would bite you.
Yeah, that's why the place is called the 49er Trading Post. That's what it used to be, because the highway went right across over here before they put the berm in and the culvert. There used to be a little bridge. That was a long time ago.
And this place has got a lot of history. This was a stage stop back in the mid 1800s, right?
Yeah, you're right. It was the first stage stop, but it wasn't directly in the center of the towns of Oakhurst and Mariposa. And when the Meadow Ranch, or the Meadow Creek, I think it was, right, Mel? When that went in, they advertised that as the midpoint on your trip between towns. So everybody wanted to stop there. Yeah. This place ended up closing up and turning into a little grocery store.
So it's been some kind of a business since its inception in the mid-1800s.
It has its ups and downs. It used to be the 49er Horse Ranch. They raised horses for the El Portel Lumber Company. It used to be the Palmer Ranch, where they grew almonds, cherries, peaches, and apples. And there was a little white worm that wiped them out. Both families starved to death that winter, I think.
No kidding.
Well, they didn't starve to death. That's just me making up a story. But
You're embellishing now.
Yeah, they had a hard time. And then, let's see now, it became the USONA Post Office, and that was probably one of the most interesting aspects of the history. The USONA, which is the United States of North America, and it was a separatist group that won favor by getting the government to recognize them with their own post office. So they thought that that gave them the opportunity to not pay their federal taxes, which they didn't. The government ended up sending a tank on a flatbed truck parked at the end of USONA. It rambled down USONA onto the ranch, and that was that. That was the end of that movement. So let that be a lesson to you, all you tax evaders.
All you people who don't want to pay taxes.
Yeah, we know, the cameraman right there.
And now we're getting a little bit off subject, but you've been here about 20 years, right?
20 years, going on 21 this September.
21 years. Yeah. And what possessed you to start a coffee roasting company here in Mariposa?
Oh, okay. Well, let's see now. The fact that they wanted to tar and feather me in the town that I used to have a business in was reason enough to leave. I had started a rebellion, a rent rebellion against triple net rents. And I moved my business across the tracks to the lower rent district. And it became successful, and other people started following me. And next thing I know, my building is rezoned to just warehouse only, which meant that they didn't want any people in the building. And the next thing I know, I'm looking for another place to start a business. I heard that Yosemite National Park bought 175,000 pounds of coffee in 1989. So you can imagine, they had 2 million visitors that year, so it was like roasting coffee for a small city. Well, actually not a small city, 2 million. Yeah, that's big.
That's big.
And 175,000 pounds, I had no idea how much work that was, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna go in the coffee business. So we put together a contraption and moved up here, found this place on a little tour, a little holiday that my wife and I were taking. And next thing I know, I'm roasting coffee in Mariposa.
So you're importing coffee from all over the world.
Right.
And you're roasting it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody believed it. They thought I was running a still or something. You know, I think that's how my friend Mel got here.
Something more insidious.
He thought I was making moonshine or something, you know. And
that probably would have been the smart thing, right?
Well, in the early days, I would have been much smarter because we hardly sold any coffee at all.
Yeah.
First of all, the locals couldn't pronounce gourmet. I'm making fun of them now, but yes, the Chamber of Commerce president called it gourmet. And I said, the tea's silent, that's okay.
Yeah.
And they were all into the canned coffees and stuff like that, and very loyal to their supplier. And I had a hard time. But, you know, we struggled through it. And I remember at that time, we'd go down to the annex in San Francisco, pick up the coffee, 154-pound sacks, put them in my old Suburban, and bring them back up here. Now we have container trucks that bring up about 30,000 pounds at a time. So
so you get this coffee, and
right.
you're doing these custom blends. I mean, you've got Brazil, you've got all these, you got this Mariposa honey, and this jar is warm.
Yeah, I just did that.
This jar is warm because he just roasted this
you know, I knew you were coming, so I wanted to impress you with something with Mariposa on it. Yeah, it smells like honey. Careful, it could jump up and get you.
It does smell. It smells like honey.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's a synthetic flavor that we use to flavor the coffees, and this is really interesting because the flavoring is added to the coffee while it's still hot. It creates a vapor, and then the vapor is absorbed through the cell walls of the coffee and is actually in the coffee itself. Yeah. So when you grind it, it tastes
There's applied science to how you're doing this.
Yeah, but I don't understand it. There is an applied science. There are some fantastic geniuses in the coffee industry, but they've been dying off. Dr. Samuel Lee, Ernesto Ely, Michael Sivitz. Of course, he's not dead yet, but boy, he's almost there. And these guys were brilliant. They understand the science. I understand the intuition.
Right.
Being Italian, I think it's in my blood.
Yeah.
I just have a knack, an intuition for which coffees from which countries will blend well together. And that's what Alfred Peet taught me when he was alive, was the art of blending. And I knew him personally. He was really an awesome guy. And he knew that he was selling his company, and he said, you know, they need some competition. Let me give you my secrets. And I said, gladly. Learned a lot from him, and he taught me the melding process of taking green beans, letting them sit in a bucket overnight, because each coffee has different humidity levels. There's different moisture content in the coffees. And he says, if you do it this way, you will get a more even balanced roast. I said, yeah, that's ingenious. How come no one else does it? Because they're all pigs and stupid. They don't know, he said. So anyway, I'm doing it. It works. And I thank him for that. Right. So I got a lot of my knowledge from older men who didn't have sons and wanted to leave it with somebody. Yeah. And I wasn't bashful. I'd call him at 1 o'clock in the morning, since I didn't know that there was a 3-hour difference from coast to coast. I just did it. I called up Dr. Samuel Lee, and he goes, do you know that there's a 3-hour difference? I said, you know, I heard that somewhere. But anyway, what can you tell me? Anyway, he talked for a couple hours. It was really awesome. Oh. So anyway, this is where my knowledge came.
So you're constantly coming up with new flavors?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
new
what
flavors.
Makes you, what inspires you to choose the flavors that you come up with?
Well, you know, there is no rhyme or reason for that. It's just the countries of origin have different pricing ways. They have different ways of pricing the coffees. Some are controlled by a dictator like Venezuela. Chavez controls the pricing, so I don't buy any coffee from him. But let's say in Guatemala, all the farmers are independent, so I can make deals with them. So I use coffee from Guatemala that I can get for a reasonable price. It either could be high grown from the mountains, or it can be valley grown. There's a difference in taste. And this I know because I talked to the farmers personally. In fact, I had a farmer in Nicaragua put his coffee on a barge, sail it up to Los Angeles. He met it there in a pickup truck, and he brought it to me. And he wanted to see Yosemite National Park, so I took him up there. And then he invited me to go down to Nicaragua and visit him. And I said, yeah, that would be great. And he said, yeah, well, not right now, maybe next year. And I said, why not right now? He says, because we're having a little bit of a problem. We have some coffee wars going on. And he showed me pictures of his home, and there was no windows. And the doors, these 2 big wooden doors, he said, yeah, that's where there's 3 bullet holes there. And apparently there was price wars going on. And this man had paid his pickers $5 a day instead of the $3.50. So he opened up a can of worms. It was a very fascinating story. And it made me understand what the farmers go through. And it made me appreciate more of what they do. This product comes from all over the world. It's amazing how they get it down to the port, how they get it here is just a story in itself. So I'm just amazed at the coffee industry, the intrigue behind it, and the politics and the mysteries. It's fascinating. In fact, I can go on forever, but you probably have a commercial coming up or something like that in a little bit.
We got 2 minutes.
You got 2 minutes? Okay.
Go.
All right. Well, you know, for example, this coffee from Ethiopia. When I was buying this coffee from Ethiopia, I was told that the Ethiopian government, oh, it's beautiful coffee.
Woo!
Yeah. The Ethiopian government was taking refugees from the north of the country down to the south, and they would stop them off and make them work for a couple of weeks for nothing, harvesting the coffee. Now, this coffee comes from the Sidamo Valley. The Sidamo Valley is the birthplace of all coffees in the world. This is where it was discovered. This is where the legend of the dancing goats come from, which I don't believe at all. I don't believe that there was some goat herder who saw the goats eating the coffee cherries and then getting on their hind legs and doing the mamba, or the conga, I should say. No, I don't believe that. What I do believe is that Western settlers found the valley filled with all these trees and said, how can we exploit this? Yeah. What I'm doing here is I'm loading the bucket. This will be 35 pounds of coffee. And this is the green bean right here. This is the raw coffee.
So you're mixing this now. You're
this is going to be Ethiopian, which is a drier coffee. And this is going to be a high-grown Mexican coffee, which has a lot of humidity in the beans. And we're going to get a nice combination here. And then we're going to go ahead and vacuum this up and get the dust off. Coffee is the most contaminated food product imported to any country. And so I use a vacuum to vacuum it off. And I call it tubular vacuum separation because we use this tube. It travels up here, it vibrates, and we get the dust off. When we give tours to the school kids, the homeschoolers, they come here and then we pick out one of the students, usually one of the younger ones, and we say, I need you to come over here and push the button, the red button right over here. Right here. But before I tell them that, I come up with a story that, oh, wow, we got to light this just right. If it's not pushed just right, poof, it could blow up. So everyone stand back and they'll come up and, Robert, you want to press the button? And then when...
I hope I do it right, Jerry.
Wait, let's check everything. Everything's looking good. Hold on.
Oh.
Got one thing. Gotta make sure everything is right here. Otherwise, it could explode.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
You're kind of scaring me.
It kind of looks pretty good. And okay, so when we get this whole thing going, and she comes over, the little girl, the last one, remember Mel, the last one? She came over that, and I went, boom! And she jumped at least 2 feet, man. She had a great vertical leap. All right, so we press, let's see now, which one, the start, the top one, right there. That's looking good. Now the beans have dropped down into the chamber here. And some of them need to be encouraged. Okay. We'll wait for the rest of them to drop down. They just did. Okay, now we're going to start it over again. 1, 2, 3. All right, now we're good. All right, this is known as a flash roaster. I'm going to roast this coffee about 35 pounds in about 5 minutes. The usual industry standard is about a half an hour in a drum that's going to look like this with a heat source on the bottom, and it's going to rotate. I don't like that. So we've come up with this design where the beans are just levitated on a bed of fluid air. That's why it's called fluid bed roasting. Okay, put this back. This is the only tool we need to operate this machine. All right. This temperature gauge right here is reading the temperature of the bean. This one down here, which is at 400 degrees already, is telling me the temperature of the blower air coming into the chamber. Once this reaches 650 degrees, this will be at 430 degrees, and that tells me where I want to be as far as temperature is concerned on letting the beans come out. And here we go. The roasted coffee coming into the drum. And this is where I get my workout. I have to spin it fast enough to release the gases and get the moisture out. This is patent pending. This is brilliant. I didn't come up with it, but it's brilliant. All right.
So this stuff is still cooking.
That cracking you hear is the gas escaping through the cell walls of the coffee. It's a pretty violent chemical reaction that's going on now. Thanks, Mel. Bring that over there. Grab one side of the handle for me. That's really pretty. Now, I'm going to show you a difference in roast. This is a dark roast called the Black Dragon. This is more of a medium roast. This actually has more caffeine content than this coffee right here. All right, we'll push this out of the way.
Need one of these?
Thank you, yeah. All right, now we're gonna put this coffee into the jars, seal it off from the air, and we're gonna create a sauna environment, and they're gonna sweat. And you're gonna see the moisture coming right out of them. Not only that, the gas is gonna condense to a liquid, and we're gonna capture it with this coffee filter and lid. Watch. Watch what happens. You'll see the condensation on the jar. Remember when I told you that high-grown Mexican coffee had a lot of moisture content?
Right.
Well, we're gonna squeeze it out of it right now.
It's gonna sweat out right now, huh?
Right. There'll be a little bit more room at the top in this jar so you can see.
So when you're roasting, you're typically roasting about this much per section, right?
It goes in about 38 pounds. It comes out about 33 pounds.
Oh, okay.
I lose 5 pounds of water weight.
Water.
And that's what's interesting, because the industry, as a standard, adds the water weight back to the coffee. And I mean, that's legal, but it doesn't make the coffee taste any better.
Right.
All right, so we'll let them sit for a moment. Is the camera picking up the moisture?
And you
on
see
that?
see the water
You can
here?
see there's just a lot of water. I figured out one time that the coffee companies that add water back to the coffee usually get about $5 a gallon for their water. It's amazing how much money can be made by adding the water back to the and increasing the weight. All right, this is almost ready. All right. Well, a little bit more. We have to wait just another 15, 20 seconds. I want to get more moisture out. And they're still cooking because it's still about 350 degrees. All right, this is good. All right. Okay, now you can see all the beans in the moisture. We'll get a paper towel and we'll get that out of there. There was a physicist on holiday from England who watched this process in a tour that I was giving and told me what I was doing with that contraption. He said, it's amazing. This is the first time that I've seen inertia used to draw the water and gas out of the coffee. So I immediately went to look up inertia. I'm going, wow, I didn't know I was doing that. It's amazing. But now this coffee has no moisture content, a little bit of gas left for the flavoring, but I think it's the purest anywhere in this country. And it's really pretty coffee. All right. Mel, get me another one of these ready. How are we doing on time?
We're doing great.
All right. Okay, one more. That product there is done. Nice try. You'd make a lousy infielder. And here we go. Last one.
Well, that's smoke coming off.
All right, Robert. Here you go. Try a couple beans. It's just delicious. Isn't that good? What do you think?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't eat coffee beans normally, but
Hey,
it's crispy.
it's the original trail mix. This is what the pioneers used as a staple food item on their trips out west.
Wow. Woo.
I think that's good. All right, this is it. We're done.
Well, this is an excellent cup of coffee. Yeah, it's a little different than the stuff that you buy in the store because that's roasted and shipped and probably sits on the shelf for God knows how long. But you know, this fresh roasted stuff.
Right out of the roaster.
Right
You
out
know,
of the
I
roaster.
thought we were going to be wasting it on Charles, but he drank it all.
Yeah.
He liked it.
And he doesn't drink coffee.
He doesn't drink coffee. Yeah, no, it's really good. It's smoother because of the fact that, like I said, we don't add the water. We take out the particulates, so it makes a different cup of coffee.
It's just a whole different deal.
Yeah.
It's a whole different deal.
I think
Tell
so.
everybody where you're at.
Okay, I'm right between the town of Oakhurst and Mariposa on Highway 49 South. And when you see the big red barn, that's where we are. You just turn in there and I'll treat you to a cup of coffee, show you around, and you'll have a really good time. Bring the family up. We have fresh blueberries in around May or June, right around there. And I'm happy to brew you a cup of coffee anytime.
Spring is coming. This is the place to come to. Come up 49. And what's the phone number if people want more information? 209-742-7339. And we're located at 2945 Highway 49 South. Yeah. Well, great. Well, Jerry, thanks for being on the Valley today.
Thanks for the opportunity.
It's been a real pleasure, and hopefully I can edit this show and make sense of it. You did a great job, though, and it really is very interesting, the things that you do with
coffee is the original truth serum.
Yeah.
The Turks would not do business with you unless you had coffee with them. And the better the coffee, the sweeter the coffee, the longer you talked, you would reveal something.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So what do we reveal today?
This is good coffee.
Good coffee. You got it.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up.
That's a
This
wrap.
is The Valley Today. The Valley Today is a public service presentation of this great TV station. Thanks for watching. Salud.
Salute, yeah.